Will Smith, the gentleman that I've been sitting next to, has been in Peoria Public Schools for 22 years and the last 11 years teaching career tech education at Richwoods High School. He's been a very successful boys basketball coach for 21 seasons, all at Richwoods. He is a graduate of Richwoods High School in the class of 1997, which means he was gone in the 4 years that he was there in the 4 years that I was gone, so I didn't have him as a student. He continued his educational journey. He taught me how to read at a young age. Continued his educational journey at ICC, earning an associate's degree in engineering science, then transferred to Bradley University, earning a bachelor's in science degree with the concentration on business management and administration with a minor in economics. He also holds a master's degree in business administration with a concentration on economic studies. He's married with 4 children, who are all products themselves of the Peoria Public Schools. And he is also a good friend of mine, former student and employee, and just an all-around great guy. Please give a big Rotary welcome to Coach Will Smith.
I want to say thanks for having me here today. That was a great introduction. I am a product of Peoria Public Schools my entire life, so this is near and dear. Been teaching career tech now for the last 11 years. I'm going to unpack that a little bit, and which this is a great place to unpack it, and what career technical education really means to our city and to our students as a whole. So a lot of people have or may not know what career technical education really is. And that is really the start of this whole career kickoff that we're doing now, is to get that understanding so we know where we can help at.
You have to turn it on the side.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, wait a second, it's okay, I'm used to this. But yeah, so career technical education, what it really is and what it does, the definition will pop up next. You can just go to the next slide if you want. There we go. So the definition will pop up, and it's a lot to unpack, because a lot of people think career technical education is just kids going to trade schools. And we try to tell people, we're trying to get the word out to our students and to others where it can actually come in to help at, especially in the community, because career technical education is just a different pathway of education. It's not just tech schools and learning on-hand job, but it's also a pathway to post-secondary education. As many as we went through, I was in engineering my first 2 years of the school, but I was at IDOT in their civil engineering program, and I learned that firsthand experience, and I learned I did not want to be an engineer. Once I got to, if anybody works for IDOT, I'm sorry. I did work there, I have a lot of good friends still there as well. But I learned I didn't want to be an engineer anymore, but it came through the actual job service itself. The education wasn't the problem, the math courses, making it through all the differential equations and everything else, that was never the issue. It was the actually on-the-job things. And I think if kids can actually get immersed in their actual pathways beforehand, it leads us to a greater success later. And it we want to get past the myth of what CTE is, and it's not a brain injury. But, so we want to talk about it in the forms of education, because we also need help from the public so these kids can actually start being exposed to jobs. I know, like for a while, the police had the academy, the firefighters also had young people come in and start being able to tag along and ride along and see what that job is like, but it needs to be further and past that.
You should be able to do.
There we go. So how does CTE benefit students? One is career exploration, which I already talked about. Number 2 is career and skill training. Not on-the-job training as far as, if I want to be a firefighter, I'm learning how to firefight. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about more of those soft skills that they're learning every day and interacting with adults. As we see now, which it's weird because being in education now and going through education, I feel like I'm never away from it. But when I talk to my parents and the older people in the community, it seems like there's a divide between what was and what is. I see there really isn't. It's just a divide in the soft skills and how they've learned to educate and how they learn to talk and actually approach the world, because it's different now. We are in 2025, so we're actually in the world of Back to the Future, which came out in, what was it, 84. So it's not that different. It's just a different way we would approach the soft skills, and how do these young individuals actually learn these skills if they're never immersed with adults? So this is another part of CTE and the benefit if they can get out there. And we're talking CTE really starts about your junior year where you can start getting immersed in the community. When you're starting to become of that age where you can actually handle yourself in a way that we say is a professional way, and start to learn those soft skills of how to interact with other adults, how to interact with people, how to interact with problems the correct way. So that is a benefit of CTE. And then the career education pathway is what I'm talking about as far as at Richwoods, we actually offer a lot of courses. We offer a lot of business courses, but in District 150, we have a great school called Woodruff Career Technical Center, which they have a lot of CTE classes. I'll talk about a few of those. But it's a lot of people think that you're going to go there, get a certificate, and that's going to be your job. It's more of get exposed to it. If you don't like it, find something else. And we're going to talk about that as well because, as we all know, we sit in this room as professionals. A lot of us go to school and we have degrees in something we have never done before. And that's 52% of the world, including myself. He kind of rattled off my master's degree. Got a master's degree in business, but I'm teaching high school. It's two different worlds. With the concentration in economics has nothing to do with anything. I can give you a great economic forecast. You want to talk about stocks after this, I'm your guy. But it doesn't lead to anything when it comes to education or coaching. But that's the whole thing about getting immersed in those pathways and being able to find those things. And the last part is an alternative pathway. Everyone doesn't want to go to college. Everyone doesn't want to go to school. We're past the age of turn 18, get a job at Caterpillar. That's what my dad did. He worked at Caterpillar for 45 years, retired, gave us a great living. But those days are far in between now, and we know that. So it's getting an alternative pathway and learning those pathways early while we're still in school, going through education. So career exploration, what it is working side by side with professionals. And having those professionals that are willing to give these students a need. And of course, a lot goes into coming back to the high school and picking the right kids to be put in those situations. For a long time, there was a program with Caterpillar for Business where these students would go down and do administrative duties. And then they would learn on the job training. They had a little bit for SEFCU for a little while when Tammy was there, but not so much anymore. So now we're asking these kids to get out of school and then try to find something, and then we find out they don't have the soft skills or understand the job because they've never worked side by side with a professional. Just because you go to work at the age of 16, you're working with other 16-year-olds if you're in a restaurant business. You're not working with adults. Adults are just telling you what to do. And of course, they're accustomed to that, so they don't have the same wherewithal to understand all the dynamics when it comes to working with professionals side by side. So your career and skill training also comes with that. Like I said, I did work for IDOT. I did every aspect of it for the 4 cycles I was there. And it allowed me to know what I did not want to do. And it really told me to stay in school and get out of engineering, go into business and find something else. And through that technical training, you actually learn. We always tell kids, hey, you don't want to go to school? Go be a plumber. They don't want to be a plumber. Go do HVAC. They don't want to climb in attics and do electrical work. And then they get there and then they're still stuck. Why not immerse them that early? And then they can start finding their paths. Won't say they're wasting money and wasting time, but we all know essentially that's what we're doing. When you're doing that and you don't understand your pathway later in life. The next step is the soft people skills. And I think this is the biggest when it comes to being able to communicate effectively, communicate the right way, and get your point across in a correct way and a correct demeanor so that people understand and you can do conflict resolution is a lot what soft people skills is. Learning how to interact. What does that look like? What does it look like in high school? We interact differently with the teacher. What does it look like when I'm interacting with the doctor? What does it interact when I'm interacting with an elderly person in the community? All those things are soft people skills, but where are they necessarily learning it? A lot of us want to say you should learn it at home. Then the other flip coin of that, you should be learning it at school. Honestly, soft skills were something we were taught early in kindergarten. The first lesson you always learned was, don't hit anyone. That's a soft skill. When you get upset, you can't throw a tantrum. We've all been at work, we've all been very frustrated, we've all want to kick over our desk at the end of the day. But that soft people skills is something that you learn early that's not being taught the same anymore. So no, you can't just throw a desk, you can't just act out, you can't say what you want to. And at the end, the lesson that every mother told us, sorry doesn't make up for everything you've done. You can't have an act out and come back and say, I'm sorry, and say that's soft people skills, because that's not. So soft people skills is really a big thing for our future going forward in teaching and having these kids learn that and how that actually looks. And it has to come from a place of a professional with the right heart and the right care and the right atmosphere versus a look down, me telling you what to do. Let me instruct you and help you what to do. And this was career and education pathway. I thought this was a really good photo to show because this is kind of what it really is. We tell people, what is that? The first one that always comes out to me, there's things that's jumping out on this bubble that comes out to you. Biggest one is hardworking. Because I coach, so I always give this, we all heard this, if you work hard, you get what you want. And I tell my kids that's a lie. You work hard to get the opportunity to get what you want. And that's what career and education pathways are. You're working hard for the opportunity. Not hard work is just not going to bring it to you. It's giving yourself the opportunity to be in a place so when it does happen, you're ready for it. The next thing I see up there is learning. Funny thing is John had me sign this book and I didn't think about it, but learning is big. It's fundamental. How do we learn? What do those skills look like? What is learning? It's the first question in my class. I'll ask anyone in here, what does learning look like? Just like class, no one raises their hand. Right? So the question is, what does learning look like? Everyone has a different answer. We were sitting here talking about going to college. And I'm honest, I never opened a book. My last 3 years at Bradley, I never bought a book because my learning is completely different. I'm a lecture learner. I'm taking down notes. I'm picking it up that way. So when the teacher would look at me in class, what would they assume? I didn't care less, and I was an athlete, so it really didn't. It looked like I didn't care. Of course, I graduated with a 3.4 GPA, so I did care. I knew what I was doing, but it's not my way of learning. So, what does learning look like? What is that for everyone? Because everyone has to know learning is not the same, and that's what CTE is about. It's not the same. We all don't have the same pathway of where we got to and how we're getting there and what we're going to get through. It's about finding a way to get there and then providing these students with the pathways to do so. So the alternate learning pathway, traditional, sit in the classroom, teacher instructs, take down notes, take a test, pass the class, move on to the next class. But we all know, we've been there, we've all done that, some of us done that. I've sat in a lot of classrooms. I can recite some of the things I've learned. I have a library of about 70 books. I've read them all, but I can't recount them all. All my lessons came from on-the-job training. Being around those people, being around those professionals, and actually understanding and learning what the work was really about. And that's what CTE is. We're pushing forward, especially in the district, and trying to get those students immersed, and all students, not just students in HVAC, but students that are wanting to be teachers. We finally have the Grow Your Own project, where students can actually start learning how to be teachers from teachers early to see if that's something they really want to do. But in everything, banking, I don't know everybody's industry in here, firefighting, whatever it may be, how are we showing these students what that actually looks like, so when they come in, you're not as frustrated, because they honestly don't know. We get out of college and don't know what the world really looks like, so what do we expect out of a high school student that doesn't want to go to college, or vice versa? So the myths of CTE, and I'll go through these really quick. One is CTE is job training. It is not. It is a alternate pathway of learning. You're going to only learn so much from people it's whatever the access they're giving to you. Number two is CTE leads to dead-end jobs, as we know as adults. No job is a dead-end job. A job is always a means to an end. Whatever that is and whatever that looks like for you, that's what the job is. I never tell a kid that's a dumb job unless they're going into school for sociology. Sorry, any sociology majors, I'll take it back, but you know exactly where we're at. Number three.
Sorry doesn't cut it.
If you heard that, my speech is always direct. I never said I was sorry. I meant what I said. That's why you're here, because I don't even know what sociology majors do, so I won't talk bad about it. We'll get on another subject. It's like a communications major. If you're a communications major, I'm sorry again. Number three, it's only college-bound students that take CTE classes, only non-college. That's not true. If you're college-bound, you probably should take a CTE class. What kids are actually learning is AP classes are CTE classes. It's to get you immersed in that and kind of learn. I teach AP computer science, and it's literally computer. You're coding apps, you're coding programs. It's to give you that to say, do I really want to do this when I go to college? And a lot of them, when they come out of there, they don't. Same thing with accounting. You start doing basic accounting, not micro or macro, just basic bookwork accounting, and then you realize, I don't think I really want to do this once we get to tax accounting. So it's things like that. And the number four is the big one now. With girls don't take CTE classes, which is a big myth that we're trying to break, because that's where it is, because women actually are a big part of the workforce, and they do a lot of CTE things, but we leave them out because all we think about CTE is construction, HVAC, plumbing, and all the hard labor jobs. And that's not what CTE is about. It's not gender bias and it's not income bias, because it's actually in all work fields, and I'll get to that in a second. So the reason why we say it's all work fields, CTE combines a couple things. One, a lot of people don't know, we have a nursing program in the district. That is a CTE class, that is CTE training. To be a nurse, to be a doctor, you can go through that, get that medical terminology, get started early. There's other things such as cosmetology. We have a cosmetology department in the district. We have construction. I'm gonna give you all the district programs. We have HVAC, nail tech, barbering, business. We just added the business. We just added computer science. And we just recently added also audio visual, which is behind the camera, behind the scenes things, because at Richwoods High School, not the school that some of us went to. I graduated there in '97. We have our own audio visual department that actually produces student news. They used to do basketball games and football games and do that, but they actually are in a production network. So we're teaching all those things. Now we're trying to get our kids immersed to it in the real world. It's easy to teach it in the classroom, but what we're asking the public to do is help us invite these students in so they actually learn firsthand knowledge of what it really is to be a professional. So I'm gonna leave you with a few facts. 6 out of 10 CTE students plan to pursue a career related to a CTE program they obtained or explored in high school. We say business because business, as we know, if you're a business major like myself, it means a lot of things from marketing to accounting to finance to economics. It's just a world, international business. It involves a lot of things, but 6 out of 10 kids are going to go into that CTE thing, so why not expose these children early? So they do the thing that, as parents, if you have kids, I have 2 that are, one just finished college and I got 2 that are going in. Don't waste my money while you're there. All right, figure it out early before you go. 80% of students say CT classes helped them because it actually immersed them into what they wanted to know or what they did not want to go into, so it helped them there. 38% of employers can't find candidates with the right skill because they've never been there. Especially when you go to school, you go to college, you just go to college. You go to high school, you go to college, and hopefully you get an internship. If you don't, you come out of college and the number one knock on you is you have no experience. So where does the experience come in at? Let's start immersing them to that early by getting them started in high school. 40% of employers say schools don't prepare students for careers. This is that soft skills part, because we're always talking to young individuals instead of helping young individuals on what it means to be a professional. What does that actually look like? What does your career place look like? I'm going to dress a different way for a construction career than I will for an office career or what I would do in the law office. Everything looks different. What does that look like for you as a professional? And 86% of employers report entry-level talent needs more training. That goes to they've never been exposed to it. And that's what this is about. I just want to give that quick one about CTE. I am not the CTE chairman. I am the business department at Richwoods though, but I'm not here for that. It's really just outreaching, asking those that have those careers that are able to help these high school students be willing to open the doors for high school students to get that learning, get that early learning on all this career training, whether it be summertime internships, whatever you have, the small parts, they all add up to what our city needs. Thank you. Any questions? Sorry if I talked about your major. Yes, sir.
Microphone for talking to us today. I was thinking how smart you are because I agreed with everything. So conversely, yeah.
I appreciate it.
How does one take it? Is it you take English and math, and you also take this as well? Or?
So the traditional pathway is these are right now mostly elective classes. Okay. So with that, for the kids to get a business, basically a business credit for it, they start taking business classes as sophomores. And we have like 4 different tracks we've created. So basically, they'll take a business class their sophomore year, junior year, and senior year, and then they'll get the business credential for it because it's kind of well versed. Most of them will end up taking. I try to push them to take accounting, and then they'll take marketing, and then I'll have them in dual credit marketing and business, and that kind of gives them a well verse of what you might like in business or what you might, because it covers everything that we try to get done on all bases.
It makes so much sense. So thank you.
What would you say is the most difficult soft skill to master for children of that age?
I think the most difficult soft skill for all of us to manage is conflict resolution. How do you deal with an angry person? And not angry, but how do you deal with someone that has a difference of opinion? Because of the world now, and this is just my little small soapbox, I won't say that long. Everybody has an opinion, and everybody has a different opinion. But how can we talk with a different opinion and still get to a resolution? And I think that's a major soft skill that's not taught, and it's really hard to get by. Even as adults, most of us learn it now. Me sitting here at 46, I probably picked that skill up at 35, which is really late in context if you're talking about a career person. And if we're all honest with ourselves, we still have those battles. Because if I was to start talking about politics, the room would change. But it's to get to understand that we can have a difference of opinion and still be able to have a conversation and get past it.
So I graduated from Richwoods
Ah.
in '75.
Awesome.
And I took a co-op class because I was not going to go to college and I wasn't real excited about going to school. And so that was my way senior year to get out in the world and get a job. Do they still have co-op?
We actually brought back co-op this last year. The problem with our co-op right now is finding business partners. And trust me, I understand it on both. If I was a business, I would be leery of who I brought into the building and who came into the building. Because you got to put a lot of trust between the school and that person and then the younger individual they're bringing in. So it is there. It's kind of dying a little bit, but we're trying to revive it. This is one of the reasons I'm here today.
What is co-op?
Co-op is when they leave school early, so they'll leave now. Co-op starts at 11:30. So they go to school, they get all their seniors normally, so they did all their base classes, first through fourth hour, and they leave fifth hour and actually go to work. And that was one of the things I was talking, like, it used to be a lot of co-op programs here to where these kids would actually get placed at a job. And then they would leave at 11:30, be able to get lunch and go to work from 12 to 5. But I don't know, because when it went away, I was in college, so I'm not gonna tell a lie about what happened or what didn't happen. But I think the trust line actually went away between what they were getting and what they were expecting.
Well, Will, I wanted to thank you for being here,
Thank
first
you.
and foremost. I actually heard something on the road this morning on the radio they were talking about with AI, how a lot of the technical jobs are going to be shifting and some of them are going to be going away, but a lot of the labor jobs are really going to not be as affected as highly. Are you guys having to rethink things or shift gears at all with AI?
I think the world is shifting with AI, how much it helps. But as far as like, I know people think like technical jobs will leave because of AI. And I probably know too much about AI. I don't think technical jobs will leave. AI is actually creating more jobs. I think we're still in that world where we're talking about robots replacing. But robots aren't replacing technical skill jobs. We always lose. Robots are actually replacing labor jobs. And AI started, and I'll give you a quick transition, kind of give you a focal point. Remember when you went to Walmart and there was a checker at every line? That's AI. Now you can go to Walmart and there's 4 people working and everything else is you self-scan and leave. That's AI replacing non-skilled workers versus skilled. So now you see more people trying to get into the computer science fields, the data mining fields. That's what AI has created. So there's always a good and a take. We said the same thing when a light bulb was invented. I think as far as that goes, we're not rethinking it because I think to push a kid into a trade that they don't like, I can tell my son to go be a plumber, but you have to like the plumbing. You got to want to get dirty. If you're not that kid and he's not, you're not going to like the job. So let's find something you do like. But that's what the alternative pathways is about, is figuring that out and figure it out early before you go to school and say, I'm out, I'm 24, what am I going to do? Because mom and dad, I'm getting off an insurance in 2 years and I got to figure it out. And start to give them those pathways to figure that part out.
Okay, thank you.
If you're an employer that wants to do this, how do we do that?
I will give you my contact. I'll put you in contact with everybody you need to. I should have put it on the slide. It's really easy. It's just william.smith@psd150.org. We have 3 programs. Woodruff has an actual work coordinators there. We have a co-op person at Richwoods, and we also have one at the administration building. It's just making all those things fit. And if they don't, I can always be the go-between.
Thanks again for being here today.
Thank
You know,
you.
you've been talking about students finding their pathway so that they can get into a career that they like. How is that identified? Is it up to the student to come to the school and say, I'd like to get into CTE classes, or do you have an evaluation process for identifying students and the path that they should pursue?
So that's a good question. One, I don't think students identify. You just want to encourage them to take the classes. Because, and the fact that we can't identify early, if we use a different school model, we would start testing a lot early to see what they actually wanted to be. But we're still here where they're getting to exploring. That's the explore part. They have tests they can take. I think they do it in the 6th grade. Correct me if I'm wrong, John. Career exploration. They actually take a test that'll say, oh, you might be good at engineering when you get older. Like my daughter took it and it told her to be a doctor. So they have those things, but when you get to high school, you just have to be encouraged by parents, counselors, to actually get out and try different things instead of just your regular school track. And a lot of them are doing so because kids that want to have that career, they're starting to look at those things early. Because by high school, you're starting to get nervous. You got about 4 years left, and then it starts to really click by their junior year. Like, what am I going to do next? Because everything I've learned from math, science, and English is just math, science, and English. Now let's try to find some things I like.
Just want to share one experience I had. I lived overseas in Scotland for a number of years, and their high school is 6 years. So it's basically like 7th through 12th grade. But after your 4th year there, when you're 16 years old, you can choose to leave school, because by that time they've identified whether or not you will go on to university or not. So if you're going to university, then you do the last 2 years of high school. But if you aren't, then you go into some kind of an internship or whatever. So it's very common for 30% or whatever of the student population to leave school after 16. But then they would start working and learning. So this reminds me of that. And I think if we had a model like that, it would be very helpful for students.
I agree with you. We do have models. It's just that the American public would not be very accepting of you telling a 16-year-old young lady she's going to go be a construction worker. Because her dad or mom's going to tell her, just work a little bit harder, baby, you're going to do something else. So it's really just getting to what's adopt, because it is out there. And that's also why when you overseas, they don't have a lot of, they have high schools, but it's different. That's why you don't see high school sports overseas, because they're not technically in school for that. They're in school for their training and their learning. And their learning. Here, it's just not that way. And fortunately, we are here.
I think 150 is finally getting their act back together. 70 years ago, when I was in high school, they had industrial arts and home economics. And we, as freshmen, could take electives and take those classes if we wanted to. And you could take a different class every year and try different things and see if you wanted to do something. And for 40 years, they haven't been there, and now they're coming back again. And I think that's great, and I'm glad 150 is leading the way here. What have you done about home economics?
So the problem now is they de-equipped every classroom that did home economics. So a big push was, I promise you I'm not going to offend anyone. It's going to sound bad, and I'm not on the soapbox. The big push was gender equality, because home economics, it was starting to be pushed on women instead of everyone. So they just took it out of the basis, and I agree with that as well. So home economics in District 150 probably won't come back at this point, but we do have culinary arts. So it does replace home economics, because you can go to Woodruff and do the culinary arts program, which is a very diverse program. And they're actually teaching them how to cook, and everything that home ec would do. It's just not an elective 1 hour where it's open to the vast majority. It's open to those students that want to take it.
Culinary arts has more sizzle than home economics.
It does. Anytime you put a proper term on it, it's going to sound much better.
So is this a hard sell? Again, it seems to make so much sense. Is it difficult attracting kids to this?
It's it's like anything else. You got to be a salesperson when you're a teacher of an elective. For so long, we concentrated on the arts, and then arts became actually art, and now we're going away from that. And we started concentrating on music for a while, and now that's kind of stepped to the side. So these are the things that are starting to replace it. I'm not going to toot my own horn. I don't have a problem filling my classes up, but I think a lot of kids just want to take me because of who I am. not because of what they're learning in a sense, but that's usually where it starts at. And then you're trying to, push what they're supposed to learn.